How's it going, everyone? I'm here with my DVD review of ROH Kevin Steen Hell Rising DVD. I was able to watch this last night, and I'm here to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on the set. So let's not waste any time and get right into the video. Alright, let's take the camera off real quick first of all, and bring the DVD over here. Of course, here's the cover of the DVD. Kevin Steen Hell Rising to this set. A nice picture right there of Kevin Steen with the Ring of Honor World title in his mouth. I don't think it's in his mouth. Oh, it could be. It's hard to tell by that picture. It looks like it's in his mouth, but it looks like it's photoshopped. But I'm pretty sure he's holding it by his mouth because, well, it's Kevin Steen. You open it up, disc 1, disc 2, basic discs right there, nothing special. The side right there, just ROH Kevin Steen Hell Rising. That's what it looked like on your shelf when you put it there. There's a picture of Kevin Steen right there with the Guilty t-shirt with the Ring of Honor World title in hand. Here's a little description. You guys can pause and read if you'd like, because everything that says right here basically is what I'm about to explain when I jump to the DVD set. So there's no point in me reading this when I'll basically just be explaining it all over again. So if you want to read that, you can just pause it and read it, because I'm not going to read it. It's pointless for me to read it when I'm just going to basically go over it in a minute anyway. So yeah. But yeah, here's, and here are some matches on here. It says 12 complete matches. However, there's only 10 matches, so thanks ROH for that, for promoting 12 complete matches, but there's only 10 complete matches, so thanks ROH again for that. But yeah, the rest of the matches will be in the description below, so there's no point of, I don't remember every single match, so you can just look in the description box if you want to see what matches are on the set. But yeah, that's what the DVD looks like. I'll put the camera back in the stand. But yeah, the Kevin Steen Hell Rising DVD, as many of you should know, this DVD came out, I want to say late summer, early fall last year it came out, but it got taken down immediately because of controversy on this DVD. This DVD is pretty controversial with Kevin Steen's comments on Jim Cornette, so it was pulled down, but in January it was restocked, and they said this DVD was limited quantities of this DVD, so it was pretty much a buy now or never get it. However, it is still available on Ring of Honor's site to this day, 4 months later, even though he said there's limited quantities left. Either no one's buying them, or, which I'm assuming, which everyone else is assuming as well, I'm not the only one, they're just saying to get everyone to buy it, so, yeah, whatever on that part. But, yeah, this DVD, the interview, it's about a 2-hour and 20-minute interview, so it's not pretty long, but it's not pretty short, so it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. Basically, you might want to call this Kevin Steen shoots on Jim Cornette, because I want to say 85% to 90% of his DVD is just him going off, not going off, but basically just talking about Jim Cornette and everything. This set runs from when he left ROH in 2010 from Final Battle to up until he lost the world title to Jay Briscoe at Supercard of Honor 8 last year. So this DVD covers basically from December 2010 to April 2013. So it covers a little over 2.5 years right here. And immediately the interview, well, it doesn't start off with the video immediately. They have clips of like his moments, like they showed the aftermath of his match with Generico at Final Battle 2010. Shows him basically saying "fuck you" to the crowd when he was leaving. The crowd was chanting "thank you, Steen." Interview kicks off. He immediately starts talking about Jim Cornette. How when Jim Cornette came back in 2009, he thought it was a positive thing at first, but then quickly realized that it was turning into a negative because Jim Cornette he hated Kevin Steen, and I don't know, Jim Cornette just came out as a big dick, like Jim Cornette was completely down on the Steen and Generico feud. He didn't even want the feud to continue, or he didn't want the feud at all. Steen, talked about how Cornette could give two shits about them. He wanted the feud at the end at Deathport Dishonor when they had their first match in Toronto. He wanted the feud to end there. The only reason why the feud continued in the Final Battle was because, that way it's like, what? I don't have to deal with them with booking their stuff, so have their feud continue to Final Battle like they wanted to. Just don't have to deal with them. So basically, he showed how much of a bitch Jim Cornette was to them, and he even he was a dick. Like when he even said once during the TV tapings when Colt Cabana asked for feedback, he's like, "Hey, how was the match? What could the match have been better?" He's like, "Oh, if the match would have been better if you weren't in it." And basically, just Jim Cornette's a huge dick backstage. Kevin Steen asked Jim Cornette for help multiple times, and Cornette's like, "Oh yeah, I'll help you." Never got back to Steen, so basically, Jim Cornette's just a huge dick back there. or backstage. You know, basically Jim Cornette really changed the atmosphere of the Ring of Honor backstage. You know, like everyone used to be close and he was a huge family. But once Jim Cornette came in, you know, the atmosphere changed, not for the better, for the worse. And that kind of bothered, you know, Kevin Steen. And he talked about how, like I said, you know, when he tried working with Jim Cornette, you know, basically wanted nothing to do with him. You know, like he sent him like an essay, you know, an essay of how he wants his feud Generico to be booked, and he asked him to look over it, what could, you know, be improved by the feud. Jim Cornette said, "Oh yeah, I looked over it," but he never got back to Steen about what he could do to improve it. He didn't give a shit about Steen. He didn't care about the feud. He didn't care about anyone else basically besides Davey Richards, because we all know Davey Richards was Jim Cornette's, you know, boy, and when he was in Ring of Honor. So he didn't really care about anyone else but Davey Richards. He talked about how Final Battle, you know, they needed to have the Steen and Generico main event Final Battle, because it started at Final Battle, so they needed to end the main event Final Battle. But Jim Cornette did not want them to main event Final Battle. He didn't want them. He wanted Davey and Roddy to main event, because like Davey is his boy, so he wants Davey in the main event, which is why they made the match with Steen and Generico the unsanctioned match, because it main evented Final Battle, but it didn't, because like Davey and Roddy was the real main event, was the main event, but Steen and Generico was like the after Final Battle main event match, so it's like after the show match. So they main evented, but they really didn't at the same time, so you know that pissed him off. He talked about how when we went home, he was told he's been gone for 6 months, so that, you know, it bothered him, because like, what the hell was he supposed to do for 6 months, you know, like, I have family, what am I supposed to do? He talked about how he returned to PWG regularly, you know, ever since he went back to Ring of Honor in 2000, what was the year, 2006, 2007, that's when he started, him and Generico went to the Ring of Honor full-time. He wasn't in PWG full-time, you know, in 2009, 2010, he only worked like a handful of shows. So him leaving ROH was the opportunity to go back to PWG full-time, which he loved to do. He talked about how he lost a lot of weight, and you can tell he lost a lot of weight. When you see his return at Best in the World 2011 on Stevie's set, you can tell Steen got in shape, because he wanted to look phenomenal for this, and he did. He looked absolutely great. And he talked about Kerry Sulkin, how you know, his contract was expiring, and he didn't believe that they would renew his contract, so he actually renewed his contract before he left in 2010, just so he could make sure that he had a spot when he came back. And you know, when he came back, you know, the whole Best in the World thing happened. Jim Cornette basically, you know, they told him, you're going to be home for another 6 months. So when he came back, he only came back because he put in his contract clause, when he signed a new contract, like, you know, okay, June 24th, 2011, you know, I have to be on the New York City show. They put him on that show, and they told him, okay, you're going home for another 6 months, which, you know, frustrated him. That's why he, you know, he regained his weight that he lost, because he was, like, depressed. He was sad that basically Ring of Honor didn't want nothing to do with him, and he wanted to be in ROH so bad again. But, you know, Jim Cornette just kept pushing him away. Jim Cornette wanted Davey Richards to be his boy, which is why, you know, Kevin even said that's why Davey Richards, you know, run was a fail, because he wasn't Davey. He was, you know, bitch boy Davey. He was, oh, I'm a good champion. I'll defend my title against anyone, Davey, instead of the sarcastic asshole that Davey, you know, was back then. And he talked about his Death Before Dishonor 9 appearance when he came out, and, you know, and cut the promo during the Jimmy Jacobs El Generico match, and then cutting the promo on Davey Richards afterwards, which was great. He talked about the lawyer skit he did, that he said was just so corny, it was so stupid. He didn't like it. He thought it turned out complete garbage. Talked about, you know, the segment with when they set up the Final Battle match with Jim Cornette and Steve Corino, and they cut the promo, which was a great promo, by the way. But the crowd, he even said the crowd sucked. The crowd was horrible in Louisville. Horrible crowd over there, he said, for ROH. But I talked about that. Talked about social media. Basically, uses the, you know, social media nowadays is such a huge way to help progress angles, and now such a huge plus. Where Kingston came from, hilarious thing right here. He talked about how Cole Cabana came out with a Twitter handle, you know, Steen eats children or whatever, but it was too long, so he lowered down the Kingston kill. And he actually made a Benoit comment, because during the social media thing, he talked about how he was the one to get rid of the ROH. He nuked the ROH message board because they're getting rid of it anyways. He's like, you know what? Give me the heat. Let me nuke it. And then they pretty much got Benoit from ROH. Like, you go to title history, he'd be gone. And when they asked him where he got the Kingston kill name from, he looked at him like a smirkish like way. He's like, not from Benoit. So that's pretty funny, I thought. But yeah, he talked about that. Then working with Corino, he talked about, you know, how he worked with Corino first in 2004, and pretty much it worked all its way to Final Battle, which was a dream match for him, and how great of a match that was. And it was a phenomenal match. It wasn't phenomenal, but it was a insane match. And he talked about the post-match promo with Davey when he came out, and he called him motherfucker and basically called him out and said he's going to take that title from him. First weekend back, when Ring of Honor in 2012, his first weekend back, was a horrible weekend for him because he was sick that weekend. His grandfather passed away that weekend. He wasn't able to be there to, see him pass. And he just, his matches, he didn't, they weren't on par as he would like them to be. He was working with Adam Cole and Kenny King that weekend. And, he said about the matches should have been better, but he was sick and just wasn't feeling well that weekend. Excuse me. So the matches weren't as good as he nearly thought they would be. The Sinclair Broadcasting and HDNet tapings, he compared the tapings, basically said there's no difference within the tapings. They pretty much felt the same way. The 10th anniversary show, he talked about the promo when he came out, and he really felt that the main event should have been him and Davey for the title at that show. The title wasn't even defended at that show, and he was pretty pissed that that wasn't the match instead of the tag match. But whatever, cut that promo calling Davey out basically. He talked about the love fest with The Rock on Twitter. The Rock is a fan of Kevin Steen. He loves that. He doesn't brag about it, but guys like Michael Elgin and Ricochet are jealous that The Rock always talks to Kevin Steen but never talks to them. So that's pretty funny. Talked about the last man standing match he had with El Generico in Miami during WrestleMania 28 weekend. Talked about that's his favorite match with Generico, just the atmosphere of the crowd, and just the match itself is an insanely good match, and everything about it, he just loved it. He says his favorite match in Generico is that one, or one of. Talk about Border Wars with Davey and his feud with Davey. Basically, how everything he said, Davey was pretty much offended by, which is why him and Davey had heat. Even though everything he said wasn't to be taken personally, but Davey took it personal. Leading to his title win at Border Wars, which was a great match. Talked about how him being champion, everything escalated into that. Where Scum came from, when the Scum was basically being planned that Jimmy Jacobs and Steve Corino was supposed to be aligned with him, but the turns for Jimmy and Steve kept getting delayed. Jimmy Jacobs was supposed to team with him at Final Battle, didn't happen. So it happened at didn't happen 10th anniversary show. It happened at the WrestleMania weekend. That's when Jimmy turned, and Steve Corino was supposed to turn earlier too, but it didn't happen until Border Wars. So talk about how Scum was formed. The original name of the group was supposed to be Liv, because that's why he has a tattoo Liv on his arm. He talked about how he has a tattoo because he has his wife and son's name tattooed on his wrist. Every time he has a bad day or whatever, he looks at his arm, sees Liv, and looks at his wrist and sees his wife and son's name, and that's the reason why he lives. But that wasn't an evil name, so that's why they came up with Scum. And he talked about Jim Cornette leaving ROH, how it improved. Like Steen. He doesn't necessarily hate Jim Cornette anymore. He just hates his mindset with wrestling. He hates how he's outdated. All the things he does, like his show names, the angles, the way he wants to book things, they're outdated, which is why he doesn't like Jim Cornette. Like, as a character, he thinks Jim Cornette would be phenomenal as the character, but like on the booking community, creative, Jim Cornette just needs to stay away from that in general. But, he talks about, his opponents as champions, working with guys like Michael Elgin, Jay Lethal, who else, during his title reign, Cedric Alexander at the PWX show, El Generico, of course. Like, he just basically talked about him being champion, how he had the opportunity to work with so many great guys, and every match he had was a title defense match because of how many lower title defenses Davey had. Davey only had like a handful of title defenses in his title reign when he was champion for 11 months. And Kevin Steen, every match he had was for the title, and he had like one of the most title defenses in history. It's pretty high up there, so it's good for him. Talked about the ladder war with Generico at the Final Battle 2012, how that was Generico's last match, and how that was a perfect ending to the Steen and Generico feud. He actually compared it. He didn't compare it, but he's like, he wanted it to be different from the Steen Wolf match, because they had a ladder match at Steen Wolf in 2011 for PWG, so he wanted this match to be different from that. And talk about his face turn. When he turned face to when he dropped the title to Jay Briscoe, it was an honor for him to drop the title for Jay Briscoe. He did everything he could to make sure that moment was good for Jay Briscoe. Wonderful. Sorry about that. But he tried to make that moment so special for Jay Briscoe. It's such a great moment for him. And, he wants his title reign to look... Shut the hell... I'm about to wrap this video up, and... Oh my god. Sorry, guys. But, he talked about how he wants his title reign to be looked differently on. That's why, he did different things and defended his titles at different promotions. He wanted his title reign to be looked at differently than everyone else's. He just wanted a different title reign. He wants to stand out. And, it talks about his goals, how they're always evolving, and he doesn't know what goals he has next, and he's just looking forward to the future. But, yeah, this Kevin Steen DVD, definitely recommend checking out. A great set here. You have a bunch of great matches on here as well. There's not one bad match on this set. You have 10 matches. I'd say half of them are just great matches, and the rest are just good to very good matches. So definitely recommend. The interview, like I said, is a great interview on this set. A lot of Jim Cornette talk on here, so if you're a Jim Cornette fan, you might not want to watch this because you'll probably get pissed off a lot of things he says. But definitely a great set, like I said. Definitely recommend checking this out. And thank you guys for watching this video. And until next time, I'll see you guys, later. Later, guys.